Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts. And I'm excited to kick off Season 2 of our podcast series in partnership with Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. It's called We Are REC. Every week we'll release a new episode talking to different people from REC about a host of different topics. We'll get tips for saving money on your electric bill. We'll talk about renewable energy and the impact it can have in our communities. We'll get some behind-the-scenes info about what happens when the power goes out in a storm. Don't miss out on information about community grants, scholarships, REC-hosted events, and more. Get every single episode on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or on Spotify. Just do a quick search for We Are REC. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Friday as you are listening to the show today. However, we have pre-recorded our conversation over Zoom on a Wednesday morning with Karen Poff. She is an extension agent with the Virginia Cooperative Extension's Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Karen is a regular on the show, and it's odd because normally you and I are in the studio together, and now I'm in my kitchen and you're in your office, and so far away yet so close at the same time.
That's true. Teleworking for the next couple of weeks after vacation. But it's nice that we have the technology to still be able to do it.
I know, right? If I had to just sit at home and not be able to do anything, it would be ugly. People would unfriend me on Facebook. I mean, it would be so ugly if I didn't have something to keep me busy. So, Karen, I know that you have been and are continuing to do this series of webinars. We've talked about them in the past on the show. The one that you're working on now is called Coping with a Money Crunch, and it's a free webinar, and we can't say that enough, free. And people can watch it in a variety of ways, whether it's on their phone or an iPad or their computer. You've kind of covered all of the bases for how they can attend, right?
Yes, and they can even call in on their phone, just on a regular, even a landline would work. I send the slides in advance so that if they're calling in on a phone, they will be able to look at the slides and still follow along as if they were using Zoom.
And I know right now, I mean, you're always really good at being able to put together webinars in a time and of a topic that people need to know when you're doing them. So, I mean, this Coping with a Money Crunch is perfect timing because we've got people that are on unemployment. We've got people that are part-time. We've got people that are furloughed. A lot of people are dealing with not having a steady income like they probably did in December, January, and February. So this is a great topic for you to be covering right now.
Right, and it's also very timely in the sense that there's a lot of content in the webinar about the particular things related to the pandemic, the resources that are available for people that are related to the pandemic, the additional, help from the federal government, assistance from agencies and organizations in the Northern Shenandoah Valley area and such. So it's definitely very timely for the pandemic.
And I know we're going to talk about some of the specifics of what you include in the webinar in the second part of the show, but I want to ask you going into this because we were talking a little bit before we started recording for the radio show. You know that the market of people out there that have to need to know this information is much larger than the people that you're getting to show up at this webinar. You've been struggling to kind of get the word out a little bit.
Yes, and I'm a little nostalgic for the good old days as far as media, where when I started working 33 years ago. So when I would do a media release, it went out to all the TV stations, radio stations, newspapers, and everybody saw it because everybody subscribed to the paper, everybody read, watched the TV and listened to the radio. So I could be assured that when I sent out the news release, the people who needed the information were going to see that news release and know that the program or workshop was available. now is so different. It's such a challenging environment because people are streaming their entertainment, not necessarily always through a radio or TV station. Lots of people don't read the newspaper anymore. They look at either online newspapers or even just watch their news over the internet. And those are all places where really there's not an opportunity for me to advertise. So it's very much of a challenge. I do as many different kinds of things as I know to do, but for this particular webinar, especially in this particular topic, I don't feel like I'm reaching the people who most need the information.
And social media does play a large role in that, because that has broadened the audience so much more than anything, even 10 years ago, that most of us could have expected. And there are all these little pockets of people, like you were saying, that get their information in different ways now. And I would imagine being a nonprofit of sorts. I mean, you're a government agency, but you don't have the advertising budget of, say, a Target or some of these national brands to be able to buy advertising anyway. You're still dependent on press releases and public service announcements and where you can put things at no cost.
Definitely, that's true. We don't have an advertising budget. Occasionally, I will get a grant that includes a little bit of marketing in it for some specific program. But for this particular program, since the program's free and I don't have a grant for it, there's absolutely no budget for that. And when we talk about social media, and you've taught me so much about social media and especially Facebook, I now have about 2,000 Facebook friends. And I tagged every one of those friends in a post about this webinar. But I'm guessing that many of those people didn't necessarily need the information themselves. So, how do you, when Facebook only shows your post to 8% of your friends,
if you're lucky, that's on a good day.
Right, on a good day, then how can you even use social media effectively? I mean, I did a post on Instagram, a post on Twitter, a post on LinkedIn. I've done everything I know how to do, but when you go back and look at those posts, there's still only a few people seeing it compared to the vast number of people that I feel probably need this information.
Well, and again, I mentioned a minute ago, we're going to talk about some of what that information is in the second segment. And I think a big piece of that too, and I'm sure we'll get into the weeds about it, is it's information that sometimes people don't know that they don't know. And so they don't necessarily, maybe they see your post and think, oh, that doesn't apply to me. Or I know from talking to family and friends in the last couple of months, a lot of people are in this mode of, I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and wait until this whole thing passes before I deal with anything. And that is not at all a solution. And it is not going to get you anywhere doing that.
Absolutely. And I think your point about people not knowing what they don't know is very valid. Some of the things that we're going to talk about in the rest of the podcast, I'm going to say, do people know about X, Y, or Z? And when they hear us talking about it, they may say, oh my gosh, I wasn't aware of that. So honestly, I really would like to encourage people to email me or send me a Facebook message or post on my Facebook. How are they and their families and their friends and people they know in the community, how are they getting information? Do they feel like they have the financial information that they need? And, are there other ways, better ways for me to get the word out? Because I think after people hear what we have to talk about, they're going to be thinking, I know a lot of people who need this information.
And I think that's the key is knowing what the majority of, and I talk to businesses about this too, and you're really no different, is knowing who your customers are and how they're consuming and getting their information. Because if your particular customer is somebody that's younger, they're getting their information a whole lot differently than somebody that's maybe in their 60s. And if you're advertising for that 60-year-old customer and not that and not that 25-year-old customer, you're struggling there. You're not going to get your
Right.
message to where it needs to go.
And is there even a way to reach those 25-year-old customers with free advertising? I'm not even sure about that, but if people have ideas, I would love to hear.
Well, and what I will do, because again, we are pre-recording this on a Wednesday morning. So as people are listening to the show right now on the station's Facebook page, if you go to the River 953's Facebook page, I have made a post talking about the show today and am asking people to put in the comment section, how would you like to get your information? And they can just comment Facebook or email or Twitter or newspaper. They can go in and just comment, and maybe that'll help kind of spur you with your information and what you need to know.
That is fantastic. I really appreciate that.
Because I have learned, the one thing that I have learned is the easier you can make it for people to respond, the more likely they are to do just that.
Right.
And again, great. I mean, and it's one of those things where if you are at a position where you may see Karen's posts, but you personally think, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or I don't even want to think about that. Yes, I know we're going to talk about student loans and car payments and all of those kinds of things in the next segment. If you've just decided you're not going to address any of that and you're just going to hope that in a couple of months you come out of this on the other side and you'll figure it out then, I am here to tell you, and I'm sure Karen's going to back me up on this, that is not the approach to take.
Well, what happens, and it's actually a normal reaction. It's, people, that's how people feel. And the stick my head in the sand approach is kind of common. And you can understand that. It makes sense that, your normal reaction is, I can't deal with this right now. But the reality is that those bills are going to continue to add up. And if it is 3 months before you develop a plan rather than 1 month, you're going to have 2 extra months worth of buildup to have to overcome. And for some people, that gets them in so deep that the hole is too deep for them to dig out of. So I hope people will take some action now, even if it's just 1 or 2 things that can really help keep the hole a little shallower, so that when you go to start digging out, you can make it.
Well, let's take a break. During the break, if somebody's listening right now and they want to go find out more information about this webinar, typically I wait to the end of the show to have you kind of give me the rundown, but I know they can go to your Facebook page right now and find information about the webinar. Where will they find you on Facebook?
Yes, they can go to Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education, or NSV Financial Education. And it's the first post, it's pinned at the top of that page about the webinar. So people can find the link to go to get the dates and times and all of that.
And even though we are pre-recording today's show on a Wednesday, and you, of course, are listening to it on a Friday, I will monitor the zip text on Friday while this show is on the air. So if somebody has a question or they can't find something, I will pay attention to the zip texts on Friday and try to answer questions or get you Karen's information. So if it's easier for you to just send a text because maybe you're not that Facebook person, but you want her to send it to you in an email, you'll be able to text the station at 540-635-4121. Let's take a break, Karen. When we come back, can we talk about 4 or 5 of these items that are kind of in that category of you don't know what you don't know, but you need to know it?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to do all of that in a couple of minutes. Hang tight, and Karen and I will be right back.
Do you know anyone who is struggling with financial hardships because of coronavirus? Our new webinar called Coping with the Money Crunch can help. We'll talk about immediate options to consider, revising or creating a spending plan, and lots of community resources. Then we'll cover how to narrow your priorities, contact creditors, and avoid scams and risky loans. The webinar is free, and you can either join by phone or through Zoom on a smartphone, tablet, or computer. You can find out more by visiting the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program on Facebook or calling Karen Poff at 540-635-4549. Let me show you how to make your own plan or help someone you care about get through the crisis. Call 635-4549 or visit at NSV Financial Education on Facebook today.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Extension Office Friday. However, we have pre-recorded our conversation with Karen Poff over Zoom. She is an extension agent with the Virginia Cooperative Extension's Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Karen, we talked a good bit in the first segment about your Coping with a Money Crunch free webinar that you're hosting. And I just want to say multiple times, multiple days throughout the month of July. On the 25th of every month, you add new dates for the upcoming month. So there are plenty of options for people to call and listen to it, to watch it on their phone, watch it on their iPad, watch it on their laptops. There are many, many ways that people can participate on multiple different days and times, right?
Right. And some are in the evening and some are on Saturdays. So it's not always only during weekdays. I've tried to make a wide variety to fit people's different schedules.
And if you're just joining us, head over to the Rivers Facebook page. In the first segment, Karen and I were talking about her struggling to get the word out to the people that really need to know the information, particularly what we're about to talk about, which are several items that you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know several of these until Karen was telling me in our pre-show conversation. But head over to our Facebook page, to the Rivers Facebook page, and comment in the post how you get your information or how you would like to get your information. If Facebook is where you get it, or if it's Twitter, or it's email, or you listen to the radio, or you watch television, or you read the newspaper, Karen needs to know that so that she can make the most effective use of her time, because she doesn't have a whole lot of money.
Right.
You have no money, I guess. To say you don't have a whole lot of money is still
right.
an overstatement. So, Karen, in our pre-show conversation, we were talking about all of these different topics that you cover during this free webinar. And one of the things that we talk about, that you were telling me about, were the impact payment cards, where people that $1,200 impact payment may not have been a direct deposit into your checking account like it was for me. People got them in different ways.
Right. And this is an example of something that came up suddenly, and I was trying to get information out to people and not really having an easy way to say, hey, you guys, you need to know about this. You know, don't throw away this card because it is your impact payment. And the way it happened was a company was subcontracted to send out these cards. So when they came out, they were, they didn't look very official. And they, it did say this is your impact payment, but it looked like a scam. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, and there may still be people getting them because it's still a rolling basis as people are getting their impact payments. So, or maybe people got it and already threw it away because they thought it was a scam. So, so we started getting word that a lot of people were throwing away their economic impact payment card because it looks like a credit card that came in the mail, and who would think that a card that came in the mail wouldn't be a scam? And that's what we're always teaching people. Something that comes to you out of the blue in the mail. So the card is through MetaBank. So that would be one clue. If people want to look at that, they'll know that it's the right one. Or if they want to contact me, I can get them the website information of where they can go to check the validity of this. But this card, if people receive their payment on it, they also needed to be kind of careful about how they used it. And you may want to tell me about your friend and the fees and so forth. So
she struggled. She was telling me she, first of all, wasn't sure why it came to her on this card, because she had filed her taxes. They had her bank account information. She, in her mind, should have gotten it as a direct deposit like many of us did. But somehow this card came in the mail. She said she almost threw it away until a friend of hers said, no, it's real. But then she struggled to try and get that money into her bank account, because at the time the banks were closed and there were fees associated if she went to an ATM and tried to withdraw it or to transfer it or things like that. She had quite a goose chase that she had to go on until she finally got that money into the account that she wanted it in.
Right. And I think if people actually went to the website of the card and looked through all the rules and guidelines and everything, those fees were outlined. if you went to your own bank's ATM, there would be a charge. There were some ATMs listed that were free, but you had to look at the site and find these particular ATMs that were free. And so, and there were fees for other things on there as well. So what we discovered was a way that would get you the money free and easy would be to actually take the card physically in to your financial institution and say, I just want this full balance transferred into my checking account. Because if they did that, there was no fee for your first transaction through a financial institution. So if you did it all at once, transferred it into your checking account, there would be no fee, the card would be gone, and your debit card would work for that amount after that point. So getting that information out to people was and still is important for anybody who might still be receiving one, or who might have gotten one, thinks they threw it away and needs to get a replacement, which there is a process for that as well.
That was going to be my next question. So what about somebody who did throw it away, or now they have no idea where they put it because they thought it was something fake and it's buried? If you've seen my desk, there are things that I will never find on my desk. So there is a process to be able to still get that money.
Yes, there is. And it's outlined at that same website, which we can have in the link on
the show notes page. Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. So the other thing that you were telling me that you talk about in this webinar, and this was in the category of I didn't know this myself, is that you can now get a credit report for free every week.
Yes, the major credit bureaus have have decided to offer free credit reports all the way through April of 2021. So it's basically for a full year. Instead of you only being able to get your one free credit report for that whole year, now you can get it up to once a week. Not more than once a week, but up to once a week. So that is something that people really might want to take advantage of, because before people would get their free credit report and they would think, now I've used my one time for the whole year. They would have a need. They want to get it again later in the year, but they've already used their one free time. So I'm not suggesting that people want to check it every single week, but there may be a valid reason for checking it more often right now. And that really is to see how companies are implementing any things that you've negotiated with them. So if you have negotiated with your mortgage lender for forbearance, for example, then you should be able to go to your credit report and look and see, hey, these payments are not showing as late. They're showing as suspended or paid as agreed, or something that's not hurting your credit report for this period of time. Or if you've negotiated with your credit card company to not show any of your payments as late, and they're going to let you not pay for 3 months, then you should be able to go in and look, and for those 3 months, it doesn't say that you're late. So it kind of helps you kind of hold their feet to the fire a little bit and say, I agreed to a certain terms with you, and now I'm looking on my credit report and it's not reflecting that. So you need to go back in and make sure that it's reflecting what we agreed to.
Well, and the other piece of that credit report is it's got good information in it, because the other thing you were talking about was student loans. And this was something that I remember when it first came out, I had the conversation with my son and said, hey, that's federal. The private loans that you got do not fall in this. You don't have to make payments anymore. You're still going to have to make those payments. But they're with companies. Some of them have been transferred to other things. I mean, it is the most confusing thing when it comes to student loans. But you were telling me that'll all be on a credit report.
Yes. And, so with the federal student loans, that was automatic. So they were automatically suspended for 6 months. So, but people still can go in their credit report and check it and make sure it's showing as suspended like it should be. And people who have those federal loans can go to studentaid.gov to check their account. But people who have those private student loans, it's a little bit more difficult, because unless they've kept good track of each loan and who the lender was, or who the servicer, the company servicing that loan was. You might be fortunate and they're all serviced by the same company, but some people have different loans serviced by different companies. And sometimes they do sell the loans, and so they're serviced by someone else, that sort of thing. So unless you kept good track, you may not really be sure who services your student loan right now. And especially if it's in deferment, you may not be getting a bill that's got that information on it. So the quickest way to find that information out is to check your credit report, because each loan will be listed and the servicer and contact information for that servicer will be listed. So, people may have a loan per semester for, 8 or 10 semesters. They may have 8 or 10 different loans, gone to several different trade schools. They could even have more than that. Each one will be listed separately, showing the amount for that loan and the servicer.
Well, and I know in our case, we applied for what we thought was one loan that ended up being like 4 or 5 of them, and he makes his payment in one place, but the payment is applied based on it. It is, like I said, it is so convoluted and crazy. I'm glad to know that credit report will help kind of figure that all out for me.
It's very confusing. Another thing I found out during this process that may help your son or other people that have multiple loans and their payment is being applied to multiple loans. I've known people who want to get one loan paid off. And because their payment's being applied to 5 different places, nothing's going down very much. So if you don't have any control over where your minimum payment gets applied, that decision is based on the servicer. But what you can have control over is any additional payments you make. So if you were to pay extra on the principal because you had a little bit extra this month, you had $50 extra this month, when you pay that amount, you can say, I want it to go to X loan. And you can apply all your extra payments above and beyond your regular payments to that particular loan to get it paid off faster and knocked off the list.
And typically, if you were going to do that, you would want to try and potentially pay off the one that has the highest interest rate.
Financially, that would be the best, because the interest, you see, you're so great.
I listen to you.
Absolutely. That would work the best. And making those, but you want to make a separate payment of principal only to the loan that you're trying to get paid down. Yes.
So what about rental and mortgage assistance?
Yes. So that is something that there was some rental assistance available in the beginning for people with limited resources. But the state of Virginia expanded that availability, and now it's for rental assistance and mortgage assistance for people affected by COVID-19. Not necessarily, you didn't have to just have the disease, but it could be because your job was, you were furloughed, or you couldn't work because of being quarantined for a certain time, or any of those kinds of reasons. And so that assistance is available in the Northern Shenandoah Valley through People Incorporated. So if you're needing help with rent or mortgage because of a COVID-related situation, you can contact People Incorporated and find out if you're eligible for this particular assistance.
We've got one more tip and we're running out of time, but I want to make sure we cover this because it was interesting when you were telling me about it. There is a surviving debt book.
Yes, the National Consumer Law Center has made their book, Surviving Debt, available online for free for anyone to read. And it's a book that I have read an earlier edition of it that is awesome. If you can go, let's say you have a car payment and that's your big bill that you're worried about. Everything else is going okay, but you're really concerned about that. You can go to this book, click on the car loan chapter, and read the chapter in detail about all the different ways you might be able to handle debt related to a car loan. And so there's a bunch of different chapters in the book that you can get very detailed, very in-depth information about whichever topic you're interested in or you need information on related to surviving debt.
So all of these topics, All of these topics are just a sampling of some of the things that you cover in this webinar, because you also talk about putting together a spending plan, how to decide what to pay, what's important, what can wait. You really do get in the weeds for a broad base of topics in this webinar.
Yes, definitely. And lots of community resources too, talking about where to get help and where to find help for different things. So it's a 2-hour webinar, which sounds like a long time, and it is, but there is so much. It's chock full of information. And as we said before, people really don't know what they don't know. So I encourage people to attend. They can attend themselves to get the information for other people that they know, or they can share the webinar link with family and friends and coworkers and employees. Maybe, you had to furlough a bunch of employees. They need this information. So I'm relying on people to help get the word out to those who might need it.
So as people are listening to the show today on a Friday, you have 3 more dates and times that are happening throughout the rest of the month of July. We mentioned that on the 25th of July, you'll release dates and times for August. So you've got some that are 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Some are on a Saturday morning from 9:30 to 11. Do people have to register for this, or do they show up on Facebook? Where do these happen?
They do have to register. And so when they click on that link, they're going to see the dates, and they're going to be able to check a box and say which one they want to attend. And what that does is allows me then to get them out the Zoom link or the phone number to call if they're going to be participating by phone. So that's the way to prevent the Zoom bombing. We have to require registration to only send the link to people who are going to attend.
Well, and if it's somebody that's going to call in because maybe they're going to be in the car or they just don't have access to something with a screen, you will send them the slides that you're going to be showing during the Zoom presentation.
Absolutely. And then after they attend, they also get a packet of handouts by email as well that's got more detailed information on the different topics and a resource list and things like that. So they get more information afterwards as well.
And there's no charge whatsoever to attend any of these webinars. And I assume you could probably even attend more than once if your situation changes and you weren't paying attention to a particular topic the first time around.
Absolutely. And we have had people do that. I mean, I had one person, the daughter's daycare called, and she had to leave immediately halfway through to pick the child up. And then she came back and did the second half. So I'm flexible. Whatever is going to get people the information they need, I am happy to try to do that.
So the easiest, quickest, first place for people to go right now to get information and find that link, and of course, I'll put it in the show notes page, and all of that is already up on the Valley Today page on the river953.com, but they can go to your Facebook page, and you have that post pinned to the top.
Yes, it's Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education, or NSV at NSV Financial Education. So you can either do the full search on Facebook to find the page, or you can do at NSV Financial Education, and that'll take you straight there.
So today we are asking everyone who is listening to help us in addition to you helping them through this webinar. So head over to the station's Facebook page as well. Let us know how you get your information. And that's good information for anybody to have, quite frankly. Where do people get their information these days? And I hope they're getting it somewhere. I hope that not as many people are putting their heads in the sand as I fear that they might be. But Karen, thank you so much for taking some time today to kind of give me the rundown on this. I really do applaud the work that you do to try and keep everybody in our community on the right side of their budget and their credit and all of their financial matters.
And hopefully being able to reach their goals in the future.
We are going to wrap up our conversation today with Karen Poff. She is an extension agent with the Virginia Cooperative Extension's Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Again, the podcast is already up. Go to theriver953.com. Click the Valley Today under podcasts, and all of the links that we talked about today will be there. Head over to our Facebook page as well and let us know how you get your information so that Karen can be more effective in getting the information out. And if there was something that you heard today that you didn't know, put that on our Facebook page too, because we want to know what we taught you today. I will meet you back here on Monday for a brand new episode of The Valley Today. Have a great weekend. Try to stay cool. It's going to be pretty hot and gross and nasty, but look forward to seeing me or hearing me again on Monday at noon, because this is where I'll be.